Hello guys, welcome to Aniswift TV. Home to the gems, he sees Pearl panicking and goes for a group hug. Steven leaves with Connie and tells her about what happened. She scolds him for sacrificing himself for everyone because she believed that if they worked together they could have won against the homeworld gems. Steven says that everything turned out fine, so he was right to do it, but Connie ignores this fact and takes his pet teleporting lion that his mom left to take care of him and leaves. Steven tries to call her multiple times, but she begins to ghost him. He gets a call from Peridot and he tells them about what happened with the diamonds. Lapis begins panicking and decides to leave Earth, but Peridot wants to stay. Steven tells her that the diamonds are looking for him at homeworld, so the Earth is safe. Lapis says it's better to be safe than sorry, but Peridot says she doesn't want to leave the barn, so Lapis reminds us she's the strongest gem and rips it out the Earth to carry it with them. Peridot confesses that she doesn't want to leave the Earth, but to defend it if the time comes. Lapis accepts her decision to stay, but says she'll never be caught up in another war and takes their home to space with her. Peridot moves back into the bathroom at Steven's home and they begin to wonder why they always lose stuff in the divorce settlement. Steven begins putting up missing flyers of Lion when a boy comes and invites Stephanie to the party. Steven explains that he needs Connie to form that fusion, but he said that he already invited her. He goes to the party and sees his traitorous pussycat with his ex-girlfriend. Steven doesn't know how to fix this, so the boy dresses Steven and parties with him to make Connie feel jealous, but spotting a moment of weakness the boy sends over Steven to seal the deal. Steven goes to Connie and spits mad game, then leave. She runs over to him and asks why Steven isn't talking to her even though she ghosted him, but Steven has no self-respect and goes over to her to listen to her excuses before apologizes for sacrificing himself to save all his friends. Seeing that Steven's down bad, she decides to take him back and allows him to get on his lion so they can leave the party. The next day, Steven and Connie gets ready to visit Lars in the stars. They see him in the middle of a space mission. Steven asks Lars where he got all this drip and he says that he stole them after he escaped from the cave. The alert comes on warning of incoming danger, so Steven and Connie form Stephanie. A huge ship comes in front of them and tells the off-colors to return the ship they stole, or prepare to meet Jesus, but Lars realizes that if she wanted to send them to Gem Heaven they would already be gone and calls her bluff. The gem shoots at the ship but misses the mark, so Lars sends Stephanie to go out and destroy the enemy Star Destroyer. They drive Lars' jet into space and begin destroying the enemy's weapon system, but missiles begin chasing them. They get caught in an explosion and begin to go down towards a planet and has a crash landing. Stephanie goes around and explore the area where they find food and water to survive. They attempt to massacre a little one, but the mother comes and chases the predators until they reach a spacecraft where they set up a base inside and head to the dream world. They see Yellow Diamond as Connie's mom invading a planet. Stephanie asks for a planet for herself, so Yellow decides to contact the leader of Homeworld, White Diamond. She yells at Yellow that she wants one now because she is the only diamond who doesn't have a planet. Yellow says to act like an adult, so they go over and punches a mirror. Stephanie awakens, confused about their dream. They explore the ship and find it's the same one from her dream, then contact Lars and ask for help as Mother Bird arrives. Lars arrives and scares it away, then picks them up. Steven goes home and brings back Garnet to meet the other fusions. She compliments them, but they think she's making fun of their features. She says that she was just like them before she met Rose. Everyone is surprised because they see her as the anti-gem that turned on her own kind and destroyed her maker. Garnet tells the true story and explains that after Pink Diamond claimed Earth as her first colony, she rose an army to help colonize the planet, but one of them noticed that the planet was beautiful and fell in love with it. She began to preach about Earth's beauty and was sent directly to Pink Diamond. She tells Pink of the magnificence of the planet, but she laughed in her face and sent her back to work. Rose decided that she's going to raise an army, and seeing the rebellion, Pink called for Yellow and Blue to back her up. A great war began between the gems, but the crystal gems were losing, so Rose decided to face Pink Diamond directly and shatter her to end the fighting. But afterwards the other diamonds became enraged and launched an all-out assault on the Earth that wiped out all the gems present except for those Rose could protect. Steven tells Garnet about the dream she had and wonders why he has a connection to Pink Diamond, but Garnet says that his powers are unknown to her, so he should embrace them. Steven goes home and tries to sleep when one of the citizens wakes him up and tells him a barn is on the moon. Steven takes Lion and goes to the moon base. He heads upstairs and sees Lapis sitting there. He asks why she's still so close to Earth. She shows him that she has been stalking everyone on Earth from outer space. Steven asks why she doesn't come back, but Lapis says she can't after the way she left. Steven tries to convince her to go back to Earth, then goes to Sleepland. He dreams about Blue Diamond telling Pink that she asked for the planet, so she can't run away just because some gems started to rebel against her rule. Then he sees a Pearl carrying a sword to Pink Diamond and wakes up from a nightmare. He tells Lapis that he saw the diamonds, making her begin to panic and head to space to leave the Milky Way. Steven goes to Pearl and asks if she shattered Pink Diamond, but she suddenly places her hand over her mouth then escapes into her room. He gets a text from her, but when he goes to Pearl she tells Steven that she didn't message him. Another message comes to his phone, then Pearl tells him that she is going to send him inside her gem to look for hers. He goes inside and sees a Pearl sorting all the items. She looks for the phone but cannot find it, so she sends him deeper inside. He sees a Pearl sitting by a rock crying and asks for the phone, but she only says that she's grieving because Rose is going to give up her form to make a baby. She sends Steven deeper inside where he finds himself on a battlefield to see the aftermath of the Diamond's combination attack. Then he goes deeper and he sees Rose after she shattered Pink Diamond. He walks towards her and realizes that Pearl took the shape of Rose to shatter Pink. The Pearlception continues and he sees Rose giving Pearl the sword to shatter Pink so they can be free of all their duties and enjoy the beauty of the planet. Rose transforms into her true form of Pink Diamond, then eats some shattered crystals, but before going through with her plan she places a gag order on Pearl to never reveal what happened. The Pearl gives Steven the phone as she goes to poo Pink, then he comes out of Pearl and reveals to everyone that Rose was Pink Diamond. Amethyst freaks out, but Garnet has a breakdown as Sapphire gets angry that Rose tricked them into a war. Pearl and Steven follows after Sapphire. She says that all their friends were shattered and corrupted in the war for nothing. Pearl explained that when Pink Diamond first got the Earth she was very bored and only got excitement from watching gems be born, but she wanted to see it in person, so she gave her the idea to disguise herself as one of them so she can greet her gems. She transforms into a rose and begins to mingle with the other gems and welcomes the amethyst to Earth. Before they were dispatched to do their duty, they begin to wander around the planet where they see many creatures already living and striving there. And this is when Rose realizes that if she invades the planet, all the life forms living there would become a statistic. She heads to the Diamond and tells them about the humans, so they decided to create a zoo for her. Then she says she wanted to leave, but they commanded her to stay. She went back home to become someone who the Diamonds couldn't command. She tries to scare Homeworld until they leave the planet, but when she saw a fusion between a ruby and a sapphire, Pink realizes that gems can have free will like humans and decided that she was not only fighting for Earth but for the freedom of gems. Sapphire realizes that she abandoned Ruby at home and goes back to find her, but she's gone. Steven finds Ruby chilling with Greg and eating pizza. She tells him that for the first time she's truly free to be who he wants on his own. Steven begins freaking out that Garnet is gone, but Ruby wants to work on herself. They go on a journey together to cross the open fields and camp out in the night. Steven tells Ruby that he likes who he's become, but Ruby reveals that he can't stop thinking of Sapphire. Steven goes home and tells her that Ruby is outside. She goes out to see the king on his steed as he walks to her and proposes. Sapphire agrees, so they finally get back together. Steven helps them plan their wedding, but Sapphire gets sad because most of her friends won't be able to make it, so Steven goes down and free Bismuth. She awakened in a room filled with other bubble gems. Steven explains to her what happened, and after washing her face she took it surprisingly well. He tells her about the wedding, but she gets nervous because Steven didn't tell them that she's coming. He tells her to wait for his signal and goes down to announce that she's there, but Bismuth decides to exile herself to the forge instead. Bismuth says that they don't want her around because they chose to keep her bubbled. Steven tells her that he wants her to be a part of the crystal gems and heads back to introduce her. They're all surprised to see her and tackles to form a group hug, then Bismuth gives them a wedding present. The ceremony begins as Ruby rushes in to meet her bride. Steven reads the rites, then Ruby and Sapphire make their vows as Bismuth brings the ring, while Steven declares them married and they turn into Garnet. They hold an after party with all their friends in attendance, but Steven suddenly begins crying and they realize that the Diamonds are here to become wedding crashers. The ship goes over to look for the cluster, so it emerges and begins throwing hands with Yellow Diamond. Blue Diamond lands and emerges from her ship. Steven decides to go have a talk, but Blue only wants the smoke, so she uses Conquer's Hockey and makes all the gems all to their knees. Connie tries to attack Blue, but she shatters the sword and prepares to wipe them out when Lapis comes back and reminds everyone who the strongest gem is. The Diamond tries to use her powers on Lapis, but she shrugs it off and restrains her. They begin ganging up on Blue and starts to overwhelm her and try to finish the fight with a combination attack while the cluster finishes off Yellow. Steven goes and thanks the cluster as it decides to go back to its bubble when Yellow suddenly emerges with Blue by her side. Steven goes and confesses that he is Pink Diamond, but they get enraged and play Step on Me Mommy. Steven awakens in the astral plane and sees that the gems have begun to lose. He goes over to the Diamonds to see them still grieving and tells them that if they stop the fighting he will explain everything. He wakes up to see all the Diamonds in front of him, then he explains what Pink did and how he was formed. Steven brings the Diamonds and attempts to heal a corrupted gem. At first it works, but as soon as they release their grip she reverts to being corrupted. Yellow Diamond says that the three of them together can't cure it, but if they had White Diamond it would work, so Steven decides to go for Rose's ship and makes a plan to go towards Homeworld to convince White to help them. He flies the ship out of space and lands the ship on homeworld. They exit the ship and see an army of gems assembled to greet them as an orb appears and reveals White's Pearl, who kidnaps Steven, carry him off to meet White Diamond. The goofy-looking creature White Diamond asks if Pink had fun playing her game, then locks Steven in his mom's room. Pearl comes in and frees Steven. He heads to see Yellow Diamond for help, but she tells him that White doesn't listen to anyone, then leaves for a mission, so he heads towards Blue Diamond, and she reveals that after Pink left they stopped talking to White Diamond. Pearl comes and tells Steven that in the old days Pink Diamond used to throw parties for the diamonds and all of them would get together, so he decides that he's going to plan one so he can speak to White Diamond. Steven sits to design his party when Blue suddenly arrives. She tells him that he's allowed to bring all his friends except for Garnet unless she defuses. Garnet refuses to do so and decides that she's not going to attend the party. The party begins with all the court coming to greet Steven before the diamonds arrive, but White Diamond's Pearl comes and announces that she can't make it to the event. Connie tries to cheer up Steven and they decide to go down and dance with the other gem, but they accidentally fuse to the surprise of everyone, who suddenly begins an orgy to the outrage of the Nazi diamonds that decides to put an end to it. They toss Stephanie into gem jail where they defuse and starts thinking of ways to escape. Steven decides to go to sleep and calls Bismuth for backup. He awakens in a melon Steven and decides to build a boat, but he doesn't know how, so the other melons come to help him to sail toward Bismuth. He travels through a storm that shatters his boat and leaves him stranded in the sea to rot away, but Loyal Lion comes in clutch to save his life by carrying him to Greg. He realizes that it's Steven and carries him to Bismuth, where he tells her that they need help before going back to his real body. Blue Diamond comes in and scolds Steven for his actions, but he tells her that it's normal to fuse when you love someone, and talk no jutsus her to his side, so she lets them out of jail and brings the couple to where his friends are being kept. They see Yellow Diamond waiting and she tells Blue to take Steven back to the tower, but she refuses and chooses to throw hands. Steven takes the chance to get his friends, but Yellow grabs them and pushes Blue out the tower. Yellow blasts Blue with shock therapy, but Steven stops her. He uses Talk no Jutsu on Yellow Diamond to make her see reason and defeats her mentally. The diamonds embrace, then try to free Steven from homeworld. They reach the spacecraft, but White's Pearl suddenly blocks them and activates White's ship to build a mech. Yellow and Blue Diamond's ship suddenly arrives and combos the craft as it's revealed that the crystal gems have come to save the day. The mech stands back up, but all the diamonds decide to attach their part to it and disable the robot. The diamonds begin to tell White that they need to change the way they do things, but she's immune to Talk no Jutsu and transforms them into puppets instead. The robot begins breaking apart, causing Steven to drop the gems. He goes over to all the gems and begins to fuse with each of them so they can retain their physical form. Sunfire begins climbing the robot but gets knocked away, so all the main gems decide to fuse and form Obsidian to defeat the kaiju. The fusion climbs the monster while everyone works together to damage it. They fuse their weapons to make a giant sword to disarm the mech, but she headbutts them into a wall, which causes them to defuse. The gems crawl into the eyes where they fall into White's chamber. She begins speaking through the other diamonds and says she can't allow Pink to leave because last time she caused so much trouble. She takes control of all the gems and scolds him for relying on them and tells Steven that without free will they are now perfect, but Steven says their flaws are who makes them who they are. White grabs him and removes his gem, but a pure gem Steven is formed instead of Pink, who attacks White Diamond and heads to rejoin his human body. White tries her best to stop them from merging again but fails to do so as they embrace each other and become Steven once more. White Diamond begins losing control and frees all the puppets she captured. Steven goes over and uses his ultimate move and talks no jutsu her to bring White over to his side. They return to Earth and make a pool to cure all of the corrupted gems to return them to as close to normal as possible. Then the diamonds leave to enslave other planets and genocide more lives, while the crystal gems chill on the beach to listen to Steven's song. Like the video if you liked the video, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching and remember to stay swifty.